This episode of the Young and Pruitt podcast is brought to you by Carpy's Custom Screen Printing. If you need labels, t-shirts, banners, race car graphics, window stickers, and anything else in between, give our buddies over at Carpy's a call. Or you can email them at sales@carpys.com. You can also find them on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter, hit them up at Carpys_CO. For Instagram, it's at Carpys. And you can also look them up on their website, www.carpys.com. Give them a holler, tell them what you need, and they'll come up with a perfect product for you.
And once you are done shopping at Carpy's, be sure to head over to youngandpruitt.com, where you can find every single episode of this podcast. Ones like Bobby Allison, Joey Knuckles, Spencer Davis, and all the long line of Timmy Petcheck episodes. You can check out Layla's blog. You can head over to our fan forum, create a membership, join the discussion, and talk about anything you want. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. Be sure to hit us up a nice review. Go over on Twitter, Instagram, at Young and Pruitt on both. Lordy, episode 40, ladies and gentlemen. This one is a fun one. David did not make it. He had a all-expenses-paid trip to Sparta, Kentucky. He had some business to take care of up at the Speedway. So I had to put out the bat signal, and I got a hold of Chase Forbes. You might remember that name from the Greg Fernelli episode. Greg is obviously the owner of SRI, Stock Car Steel, and the like. Chase is his manager, social media person extraordinaire. So Chase steps in as the co-host. So we have had 80-year-old Bobby Allison on this show before, and we take it the complete other direction, and we have 9-year-old Gavan Boschele. Gavin is a good little driver. He's a good little prodigy kid. Like I said, he's 9 years old, oozes confidence. This show's a little bit different because he is creating his story every time that he straps up into his kart or quarter midget or whatever. From here on out, he is creating his story. So it's a little bit different. We have a lot of questions for him, and his dad sits in, Chris. His whole family was here. Lovely family. Gavin did a very good job. I hope the best for him, and I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to this and you end up watching Gavin race. Enjoy. You good?
Yep.
How old are you, buddy?
I'm not 10 years old.
You're 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Must have just happened if you had to say the nut 10.
Yeah.
Was your birthday recently?
February 12th.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Oh, wow. How long you been racing?
Well, I've been doing this since I was like 3.5, so it's been pretty long. Like maybe like 5 or 6 years maybe.
Wow.
And I've developedly gotten to more and more stuff.
What was the first race car you ever seen?
Definitely an outlaw cart.
An outlaw cart?
Yeah.
And you seen that and you said that was for me?
Yeah.
Where was it at?
It was at Millbridge Speedway.
So right down the road here.
Salisbury.
That's cool.
So 3.5 years old, and you're like, I want to do that. And you already had a plan to do that.
I asked my dad if I could get one of those. About a month later, we just went at it.
That's
Started
awesome,
practicing.
man. 3.5. You probably don't have even too many memories of you not racing.
No, not really.
That's crazy. 3.5 to just get younger and younger. Everybody talks about when Jeff Gordon got started when he was 5, and it was just this revolutionary thing.
We talked about that before. We'd go over here to GoPro.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be sitting there watching the karts that I have, and then I'd see the little 3-year-old go out there who's like can barely stand up because the helmet's so big. You know, they get him in the seat, and he goes around. They're going 70 miles an hour. It's
We have several pictures of him getting out of the cart with a sippy cup. No exaggeration. So his first neck roll, you know, Nick Hoffman.
Yeah.
So Nick's got at least 1,000 laps with him at Millbridge, and the first time we videoed it, it's actually on his YouTube channel. He gets out and he's got a his neck roll that you would use for a baby to sleep. That was his neck roll to protect him in his helmet.
That's nuts.
So when was the first time that you raced competitively?
I think it was like 4 maybe.
Yeah, he was 4. Yeah, Millbridge had to wait till he was. Well, actually, let them at 4 compete. And at that time, they didn't have, like if you go to the Millbridge Facebook page, Jeremy made a nice post where it talks about he was the original beginner outlaw cart. And at that time, they just didn't have enough kids at that age, the 4 to 8, because Millbridge was really just starting to gain momentum, right? So a couple of the older kids would go out there and race with him, and then about 4 or 5 races into it, you start getting 4 or 5 carts, and the last box stock race he ran, there was 26 carts in the class. It's crazy, wow. Yeah. So, and he actually has moved into the 250 class, and it was pretty neat to, know that he was 3.5 and now he's racing these things at 70 mile an hour down the backstretch.
Yeah, and this is a pretty competitive area that you're in to be starting something like that. There's some big racing history around here, so you're going to be against the best of the best from your whole life.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Millbridge was a great place to cut his teeth. He won 5 or 6 championships, something like that, and he's one of the winningest drivers ever there. So
what do you think about before the race starts?
Stay calm and focus.
What are you focusing on?
Focus on winning.
Focus on what I like that. I like that a lot. I like that. Who do you look up to? Who do you try to be like?
It's one of the feature drivers, Lewis Hamilton and Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, that's
top notch for Formula One and NASCAR. That's pretty crazy.
Why those guys?
I used to like Casey Kane, but now as I got older, I just saw that I just started what I like to do and stuff like that, and I saw that they were progressing really good, so I just started to like them.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Johnson, he's probably considered the best driver of this current generation, but do you have any drivers that you look up to from the old days, your Earnhardts, your Pettys, your Allisons, guys like that? You familiar with those names?
I know Petty and Earnhardt, but not familiar with Allison or anything like that.
Oh, okay, well, we'll have to get him acquainted with the Allison.
Yeah, he sees him in church quite a bit. That's about it.
So you run number 5. Is there a specific reason why you run number 5?
Yeah, my dad was the number 5 when he played college football, so I just wanted to be his number.
It's a family number. That's cool.
Where'd you play football? I know
I played in Pennsylvania, Slippery Rock University.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome.
So yeah, when I realized that the NFL was not an option after free agency came and went and the draft, and then moved down to here. And actually, I used to work in PR hospitality with Jeff Gordon DuPont at that time, 1998.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Those are good years for you.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, actually, Jeff's son Leo races with Tristan now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we it's come full circle for us, for sure.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, I was looking up some of your information, looking at your sponsorship deck and your website and everything earlier, and I was wondering if your younger brother had gotten into racing yet, and what's Tristan doing over there?
He's racing quarter midgets, but no karting or no dirt yet.
Okay.
He just watched me over the years, and tomorrow, going on 7 months, he just wanted to do it, and we finally got him in one, so...
Gotta ask the question, what would mean more to you, winning a championship or beating your brother by a nose at the start-finish line for the win?
Definitely beating my brother.
that was the answer I was looking for. There's no wrong answers, but that was probably the right answer.
So we're going to go from the Bush brothers to the Boschele brothers.
Yeah, hey, it's an easy transition.
1-2, battling them out. That's going to be fun. What's your favorite race that you ran?
Probably the Brickyard, where I won for my first time there.
Yeah, so it was the first time running that race and you won?
Yeah.
So explain to us a little bit how they race the Brickyard. So is this a flat cart?
It's just like a regular quarter midget where it's like a little dirt car midget, but it's on asphalt. So
right.
It was really cool. It went on for 4 or 5 days. There's so many cars there. It's 700 to 800 cars. They have to cut the limit off sometimes of cars because it's just too much because they'll run into a week or two.
Wow.
So they section out a portion of the parking lot behind the main, what's the
track? The track.
The main start finish line of the track. What's that big tall thing?
The pagoda.
The pagoda. Yeah. So it's right behind the pagoda. They'll get 500-600 cars, and in his class at that time, I think there was 50 or 60, and he actually. It was really cool. He started on the pole and led every single lap and won it. So it's a good way to. They do a really neat deal. USAC is just tremendous with those kids. As they had the milk, the wreath, you do the whole 9 yards. It's pretty good, and you kiss the bricks.
And you even get to run around, take a lap around the track, too. It's pretty cool.
So the whole circuit,
the whole thing.
Yeah.
They go around the whole big track like the Cup cars do.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Same line, and so we tell him, hey, listen, not up against the wall. Just be smart, and as soon as that thing goes, like Larson, he goes straight to the wall.
Straight to the outside. That's pretty cool.
Got to get up around the wall.
What goes through your mind when you're going around Indianapolis Motor Speedway at full speed, going around the whole track? Like, I mean, you just got to be in a different world.
I was just like, it's just crazy how it happened so fast.
Yeah. I mean, just the history behind what you're driving on. I mean, it's got to be surreal.
I mean, I know it would be for me, being from Indiana myself. So is that your favorite racetrack?
Yeah. Well, no, not really. That's my favorite one to like drive around. It's the coolest one, but my favorite one is Metro Atlanta. It's a bank track. I like the bank tracks a lot. They're really fun.
So what racetrack are you looking forward to running?
Hopefully when I get into F1, I want to run at Barcelona.
There you go.
When I get to F1.
Yes.
There's no if there. I like that.
That's awesome. That's okay. Well, that answers a lot of our questions that we were getting ready to go into.
So is that the ultimate goal for you, F1 or NASCAR, or one or the other, or do you have a favorite?
F1, definitely.
Okay. Want to be on top of the world, not just America.
Yeah, and with Haas having his own Formula One team now here in America, the chance is there. So is it something that you want to represent America, or do you want to go over there and race for like Ferrari or Mercedes?
Probably here in America.
That's cool. Well, Haas is they're getting ready to have their own engines here soon, right? That's all coming up. They could rent engines for 2 years, 4 years?
We've talked a little bit about your racing. So you're in third grade now? Fourth. Okay, so that's fourth grade was definitely a favorite year for me because there's lots of like local history, I think, is what you're studying.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're traveling all over the place. I mean, how many states are you going to this year?
11 or 12.
Yeah.
143 races.
Wow. And you know, I had friends growing up who raced quarter midgets before USAC took over, so I'm sure it's a lot better than it was back then. But so I was just wondering, how is that school life, race life, personal life balance working out for you? Like, are you constantly studying while your parents are driving and doing homework, or how do you do that?
No, not really. As much as I don't like school, I'm just glad to miss it when I get out, but I really pay back when I have to do all that work. And I end up doing it on the plane ride or the airport, either one.
No time off. It's definitely...
He knows school's the priority.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we'll edit out that whole part about him not liking school.
That's right.
If Gavin's teachers are listening.
I don't think I liked school until actually I graduated college and realized how tough life was.
Yeah.
See, college is actually fun, though.
Yeah. Well, depends on who you ask. Depends on who you ask.
So if you did have a favorite subject, what would it be in school?
Reading.
Yeah.
So you got favorite racing related book?
No, not really.
Movie?
No, I don't really watch movies. I watch TV shows like NASCAR and...
Yeah? So like Race Hub, stuff like that?
Sometimes.
Well,
Fortnite videos on YouTube.
Oh boy. I haven't quite kept into the Fortnite thing.
No, me neither. I'm not much of a gamer. Speaking of gaming, so what do you have, like a sim racing setup at all?
No, I just have like this little... It's like a little Ferrari thing that it's like a little paddle shifters and it's not even a simulator. It's just like feet pedal and then a steering wheel and a paddle shifters on the side, and I just use that on my Xbox sometimes.
Well, Zach over there, I saw that he's got quite the setup going.
He's working on the sim.
Yeah, so
he's working on it.
Pretty excited to get on board with the sim over there.
We had to make him earn it.
Yeah.
He had to prove that he was going to be dedicated before we invested in that. That's for sure.
Right.
So when you're doing this circuit across 5 states and all those races, how many cars do you have in your fleet?
Yeah, so the he runs in the karting stuff is one kart right now. The Dirt Outlaw kart's one kart, and it's primarily in North Carolina. We'll run some in California, but that's under the QRC umbrella with Jimmy Elledge.
Oh,
but on the quarter midget stuff, it's housed out of Salisbury. We have he races competitively in the nationals. You'll race 4 cars at a time on the weekend. So it's and in some instances local shows you may only run 2 or 3 just because the amount of cars that are in the class. But at your national races and your big regional races, it'll be 4 cars. He competes in the senior classes now. He moved up into them last year, which was really You know, it was a challenge. I think for him, it was kind of more of understanding it when you get into that type of caliber of racing. The kids are a lot older, 13, 14 years old. They're mentally developed, and just, they just understand the feel of those cars better, especially in, the quarter midget world. Literally, your qualifying differential is sometimes it's thousands. You're separating first through sixth, for example. Even in heat racing and stuff like that, the kids are just they're smarter. He was, to give you an understanding of that, he was leading a race in Pocono where we ran with the IndyCar and led half the race. 3/4 of the race was checked out, gone. And red flag comes out, a kid flips and bunches up, and he's got two, he's a national champion. He has two 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds behind him, national champions, and they literally just push him out of the way, move him up out of the groove, and win the race. So, him to learn and understand that on how to control those cars behind him, even with his foot, and, sometimes the brake or just the steering wheel is become it was a learning curve for sure. But he runs four of those in the USAC stuff.
So what's the age range with that?
So in the senior classes, you can go from, they start from 9 and go to 16 is really where USAC caps you out. Now, most kids, and depending upon what their agendas are financially, they're capping out at 12 or 13, and moving into big car stuff. Yeah. And honestly, some of the racing budgets, obviously it's a little bit more committed from our perspective, but it sometimes does make more financial sense to go into a big car.
And you're going to be at a severe weight disadvantage.
Sure.
If you're a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah. Well, then they start to delineate into heavy and seniors.
Got it.
So as they get older, they get bigger, you'll have a heavy class, but yeah, for sure. Definitely does.
Oh, so you mentioned 3 different types of racing. So you have your flat cart, and then you have your outlaw, which you race over at Millbridge. And so what's the third type?
The USAC quarter midget stuff.
Okay.
So the karting stuff is like the GoPro stuff.
Right. Okay, so I get it now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
The karting world was crazy to me when it was introduced from Zach and Nick Tucker to go out and try one. And we had talked about it for a while, but he's always kind of naturally liked that kind of racing. We've kind of sheltered him from it just because there's no cage and just the fear and concern of safety but it's crazy. Over time, he's navigated more towards that, and he's drove in circles since he was 3.5.
Right.
But I think that from any athlete's perspective, and no matter what you're doing, is the more skilled more you hone his skills, obviously the better it's going to help him. As a wide receiver, I don't catch the football with just my right hand because I'm right-handed. You use left hand, you go on different fields. You try to. It's to me, we've related it. We've taken the same kind of concept with him. We do a lot of stuff that we're starting to get into: agility training, hand-eye coordination, more athletic stuff now that he's starting to develop.
Yeah, I mean, especially when he's got his sights set on being in Formula One.
Sure.
Like, you need all the experience you can get because, I mean, those are the greatest drivers in the world. Like, that's incredible, the stuff that they're able to do. Just watching Monaco this past weekend, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, and there was Hammond on Top Gear. He was driving one of the Formula One cars. I think it was the Williams. He got to test drive it, and he was going through and he was explaining how on the car, like, you have to drive fast to get heat in the tires, but you don't have heat in the brakes. Yeah. So you have to drive faster to get heat in the brakes, but you still don't have heat in your tires. And while you're all thinking about this, you're already through the corner, and now you're in the wrong gear.
What's been amazing to me is I don't know much about that stuff. It's just the way that the athletes are trained. I obviously working with Jeff for so long and watching him get out of the car at Bristol with 500 laps and fumes coming into the car and barely able to breathe. I'm like, wow. You got to be. I mean, listen, there's no doubt you got to be in shape. The karting world, and understanding more, and I've had to educate myself on just how those athletes are trained. It's the hand-eye, it's the constant moving, it's the core, and you've got to be physically fit, and to me, just like athletes, and kids that play football, baseball, stick and ball sports, you've got to start like we're doing with him now, to prepare them for that time if they ever have the opportunity. You don't want them to not be able to take advantage of, or at least say that we didn't try.
Yeah, just like your favorite driver.
Yeah.
He Chad Knaus has said that the more Jimmy can take, the hotter he can withstand being in the car, the more he can seal off the ductwork and stuff, the faster the car is going to go. So you really have to be in shape and be able to handle high temperatures and over 500 miles, and it really helps the performance of the car. So just not just being healthy helps you race better, it'll actually make the car faster.
Well, I tell you, the karting stuff has definitely helped the oval for sure. You know, you can see the transitions of the, you know, just the hands and the manipulation of the cars, that kind of stuff. But what's really been interesting to me is to watch, you know, and any kids and any athlete, you know, is to go to these places. He's just drove them, you know, for 6-7 months, and you go to places that he's never seen. You don't understand the corners, the braking, that, and watch him figure it out progressively over time. Or all those kids is really, it's kind of mind numbing to me.
That's awesome.
You know, as an adult, I'm sitting there, oh my gosh, man, you know, this is crazy.
That's awesome.
Right. And, you know, good example of transitioning from one brand of racing to another is, did you see that save that Kyle Larson made on Sunday? Keeping it off the ball?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was following his live cam. I switched to his live cam just moments before it happened, and I'm like, oh man, he's way out of shape. But he's just all over the place, and you're like, that's a dirt driver.
Yeah, we've been fans of Kyle for a long time, huh, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we like Kyle. He's a great kid.
If you weren't going to be racing, what other sports do you like to watch?
Football or hockey.
Football or hockey?
Awesome. You Panthers fan or
Steelers.
Steelers?
Gotta
makes
be with
sense.
that. That's why you spoke up when I said Pitt earlier.
Oh yeah. I was like,
Yeah, they when I went to Wyotech, it was actually in Blairsville.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't too far out. It was a old mining town with no mine anymore. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no,
it's all
exactly where
college
it's at.
now.
So let's talk about some of your competition out there. So who is some of your stiffest competition over at Millbridge? I know that we've got quite a few really good people over there.
Definitely Brent Cruz or Caden Quapple.
Yeah, I've seen Voppel definitely do some work out there. So are you guys in the same division most of the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are now.
Gotcha. And do you happen to, in your flat carts, do you ever race against Chuck G's kid?
I don't know.
Chuck Graffar.
Oh yeah. Caleb. Yeah,
Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb's a good little karting racer.
Yeah, he's
you
really
race
good,
against
man,
Caleb.
so.
Caleb G.
I like.
Yeah, and the karting stuff.
Nobody knows how to really pronounce his last name. It's just it's like Graffar.
Yeah.
And to kind of paint the picture for people that don't really understand, like we are in Race City, USA. So when you want to be a movie star, you go to Hollywood. You want to be a singer, you go to Nashville. Like you are in the #1 spot. So, you know, just like wrestling is up in Iowa or Michigan or Wisconsin, like you are in the hotbed of, like, your competition is going to be
Right here.
the whole way through. And those names that you said, like, those are familiar names. And you're always going to be racing against household names, their sons, their kids, you know, the Larsons, the Bushes, the Harvicks. Like you're right in there. You're right in that age group. So I think it's really cool that you're able to do that.
Thank you.
And,
Yeah, it's neat. You know, we learned that really when he started racing at Millbridge. You know, a lot of the dirt guys come out there. You know, Nick Hoffman, obviously, and then Allgaier was out there at the time, and Jimmy Elledge. You know, Justin's known Gavan since, you know, he would literally get out of the car and be holding a sippy cup in his hand and talking to Justin. It was crazy. So it's so you met a lot of the Kyle Larsons of the world, and you know, even the Tyler Seavies that are coming up through, and the Tanner Thorsons, and that's actually where we met the Gray family, Tanner. So it's interesting to see how this whole area in general is kind of like up north with football or wrestling, or you know, it's a mecca. You want to understand how you stack up. We, you know, in the USAC quarter midget world for sure. You come down here to race the North Carolina kids, and you'll figure it out pretty quick.
do you work on your own cars?
No.
No?
I have him. Sometimes he does it, but in the karting stuff, we have like mechanics, and they work on our cars, and I tell them how it feels, and then I just leave it all to them, and then I have to drive it in the race.
So, but you know, do you have an interest in more of the wrench turning side of things to learn how the car works and give better feedback to your mechanics and guys like that?
I know how to give good feedback, but I don't know how to get my hands dirty and get all the wrench turning.
We haven't progressed there yet. Dad's not the best at that either. So You know,
That's okay. That's
man.
That,
You know,
there was a movie about that.
Right. So we went
Days
out
of
in
Thunder.
yeah, man. We went out in the karting world one time, and I put the tire on backwards, and the poor guy. Thankfully, he's smart enough to understand the feel of a bad wheel, and he just pulls off to the side. And we're like, "What'd you pull over for?" He's like, "Well, the wheel's on backwards."
I put the spacer on my friend's midget in front of the wheel instead of where it's supposed to go, and
That's right.
he was not happy. So hey, it happens to all of us.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
Yeah.
When we were at the Brickyard last year, a friend of ours, Kev Swindell, come over and he's like, "You work on these?" I said, "Kev, seriously? Come on, man." And Gav looks over, he says, "No, my dad does not touch the cars." But he does a good job, I will say, to his credit. He's very, very good at telling you what he wants that car to do, to the point to where he'll tell you to move the right rear end, put a turn of wedge in. He wants more forward rotation. It's pretty.
I mean, and that's key.
Oh yeah,
That is the number one thing that all of the
Mm-hmm.
drivers and crew chiefs have come on here and say. It's having the driver know what they want
Mm-hmm.
and be able to communicate it to the crew chief, and the crew chief to understand exactly what they want. That's
He's
the big
done a
thing.
good job of that. Like he'll tell you, to move the right rear end, like on midgets or sprint cars, it's kind of the same. You move a spacer out, and it'll tighten the car up, and he'll tell you he wants that, or he needs more front grip to get the rear to rotate. That kind of stuff.
Since you're not in like the iRacing yet, what other things do you try to do when you're not racing to help you race?
I just keep in, like when I'm off the races, I just keep in sports to just keep me active and just fit for the next race season.
What areas do you try to focus on to be better?
Just my progression and all of that, like just in general, like all of I need to work on to get better.
I feel like I wish I had a tennis ball behind my back so I could just be like, look fast.
Yeah.
See how good he is.
Yeah. So the we've actually talked to the Wise family about doing some of that stuff with Josh.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. It's actually it's supposedly supposed to be really, really good, and I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they got the one with the steering wheel that they turn
Yeah,
and
they
you cover
turn.
up the lights. Have
Yeah.
you seen that one?
Yeah, he hasn't
Yeah.
seen it yet. Now, Eric, Josh's dad, and I have had discussions about it when we were at Daytona. So once Josh gets freed up, we're going to start doing it pretty. Well, I want to do it very intensely with him.
What was Dad's response when he said, "Dad, I want to go racing"?
It was I was okay with it. Him being that young, the big fear that you have is all the things that can happen. I am literally other than the business side of racing and the marketing side and that, I am literally as ignorant as it gets to what you do to these cars. Like I didn't even know where to pull the handle to start the car. So it's more of, as any parent, you want to give your kids the platform or the opportunity to succeed. And frankly, my biggest fear was, okay, well, how can I, coming from the stick and ball sports world, I'm thinking, hey, my kid's going to play football and he's going to follow the same path, or baseball or basketball, and he may still, but you really just don't know, what tools am I going to give to him to enable him?
Yeah.
So that was really the big concern, more so the safety. Football is a very violent sport. I don't know if I'm necessarily, I'm overly excited to see, or I would be overly excited to see him put a helmet on, knowing what I went through, but it's, obviously it's what I know, right? But as the years have gone by, it's you start to find your place and understand how and what and why and what you're going to do to help support him and follow and chase his dreams. I was a broke kid from Pittsburgh and had an opportunity to play in the NFL. Man, what can you ask? More can you ask for?
Yeah.
So obviously being in racing is a little different structure, but in the same sense, it's the path of work hard. Strive for greatness still exists. So that's what we try to build, man.
Well, you're taking what football and business, and you're like, well, I know this, so if I can apply the lessons I know from that and put it into this, well, it can't really be that hard.
Sure, it's more, for us, he's got a wonderful social media following. He's got a terrific platform. I told someone the other day, regardless of what happens, he's got some wonderful opportunities, with racing to advance throughout, sponsorship relations, the whole 9 yards. But, he turns 12, 14 years old, says, I don't want to do this anymore. We have a terrific social media platform of wonderful memories, that we can all, that's one thing. And I actually told Casey Kane the last Millbridge races that I totally discounted the amount of family time that we all spend together collectively at a racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
what it forces you to be there together, and sometimes forces us when we don't want to be there.
Right.
But in the same sense, I told Casey, I said, what it'd be, what you'll never forget is the memories you create, and he was saying the same with his dad and his family, and so that is one really, really neat thing about racing. In football, we get on a bus and we leave, and we get off the bus and we play, and we come home on the bus. It doesn't involve your family other than just meet and greet.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that seems to be something that I hear from a lot of people. And one thing I've heard from people who grew up racing is they're like, it's like camping with your family all the time, except for really expensive.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, except our camping consists of, it consists of airplanes and motorhomes and trailers and
Right.
cars and trucks and race shops.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a little different camping trip for sure.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade for the world, no matter what happens with his career.
That's
For sure.
awesome.
So, have you ever wiped out one of your karts before?
Well, I've gotten to a wreck, but I've never tried to wreck myself. But
Well, yeah,
I have.
I would hope not.
I have spun out before many times.
Yeah.
Flipped.
Yeah.
And how's that make you feel?
Everything just goes through my head. Well, what did you do, Gavin? It's all over.
I'm just thinking because a lot of these cars really don't have much of a suspension. There's not a lot around you. I imagine the impact has just got to knock the wind out of you.
Yeah, I kind of got used to it over the past few years, just flipping and just spinning out. I just got used to it, so it doesn't really bother me anymore. It's just how mad I get when I do it.
Right.
Yeah. He flipped it out of the park, the quarter midget at USAC race, national race.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, out of the park. Yeah.
So, do you guys have like a dartfish or anything like that where you go back and watch do you guys film the races at all?
I have a GoPro where I go back on film and I watch it, and they tell me what I did wrong and I correct it.
You review data.
Yeah.
So, is it on your helmet or a cart? Or
It's on my cart. It's like just like a little front piece that sticks on like a little GoPro. Mm-hmm. So and then they go back and take it on like one of those laptops right there, and they watch it back on a big screen TV that's hooked up to a computer.
Now, are you allowed to have that on during the race?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
cool.
I mean, does that give you data down to like how much throttle you're putting into
Yeah.
it and brake? Wow, that's man, kids have data
Yeah.
acquisition.
The data analytics is crazy. Actually, it's that was one thing. And coming into the karting world is and it's real different. Obviously, the outlaw dirt karts. What is so fascinating to me is watching people like Kyle, and some of these superstars drive those karts. There is literally no suspension on them. There's a caster block.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the quarter midget, you got shock and spring travel. That's like a cup car. I mean, it's like there's cup guys that run out there, and like these are really not much different than a cup car. And in the karting stuff, is similar. It's kind of a combination of both without the suspension, but you bring in brake and gas, and you start to understand the data analytics that they do with that stuff. It's crazy. I mean, it is crazy.
And that makes you years ahead. Like, you're already starting racing when you're really early. Like, that puts you years ahead. It takes all the guesswork out of it. So you know exactly where you're hitting your marks. And then you can go back and say, okay, well, I need to drive it in a little bit harder. I need to brake a little bit later. That's...
Well, really, what's been interesting for me to watch from an outsider's perspective is him to understand what that cart needs to do to help him. He'll tell you, for example, I drive it in deep here. When I get back to the gas, the car's squirrely on me. I'm just not in the track enough. And to be able to translate that into, that's what's been fascinating for me to watch because, even for me, it's over my head. But for them to be able to translate, and a 10-year-old to be able to translate, it's been pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. So, are you one of those guys that likes driving a loose race car? Do you like one that's really hooked up, or have any preference on how you like your setups?
I mean, I just like it really loose because I've been on the dirt like for a long time. But sometimes when I'm in when practice or qualifying, I like it real loose because it allows me to get off the corner faster. But when I'm in a cart, I like it real tight and snug because I've only been doing it for like 5 or 6 months, so I just got to get used to the feel.
Right, and then maybe you might want to experiment getting a little more loosened up.
Yeah.
So when you jump back and forth from asphalt to dirt, how long is the period before you get back in the groove?
Doesn't really take that long. It's just I've been jumping back and forth for so long. I just get used to it. So it's really like the seat that's changed. It feels so weird.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you're really stretched out in one of those flat carts.
Yeah.
But I
It's
imagine-
poured. His
Right.
quarter midgets are poured seats.
Wow.
So
Right.
it comes up around you, and it's molded. And the
Right.
dirt car's a butler seat that's full contained seat.
Right.
That's one thing he's weird about is the helmet has to stay the same, the steering wheel and the seat.
Okay. Across the
We
board.
literally on the quarter midgets, you carry him from one car to the next. He's that fickle about it.
Wow. Hey, you got your thing. You stick with it.
I know, right?
You're racing in the quarter midgets, and are you planning on continuing up a little bit through the USAC ranks going
Yeah,
forward?
Maybe. Maybe when I get up to 11, 12, maybe I'll stop doing that and try to, like I said earlier, try to get in the F4 and then work my way up to F1
Yeah.
and all that good stuff.
So what is it about the F1 cars that you like so much?
I liked how I started liking road course stuff, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I just started doing it.
So have you considered, maybe doing a little bit of club racing, SCCA, things like that?
Yeah, I've been doing club races. I've actually done more national races and SCUSY, more like the down low events than I have than club races and the kart stuff. So it's
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking like SCCA, road course cars, getting a Miata or something like that, or is that not really tickle your fancy?
no,
Not too
really.
much.
Like all the open wheel stuff?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. He's an open wheel, like the F1 looking stuff is what they mean.
Right.
IndyCar.
Yeah, the IndyCar stuff.
I don't like IndyCar.
No.
Why not?
Going too fast, you're in a big circle.
Yeah, but they do road course stuff too.
Yeah.
Also, you're
Yeah.
swapping back and forth, so you gotta know it
Yeah.
all basically.
It just seems real dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
that's true.
Something to be said for that.
Yeah, that is true. So, what do you like most about racing?
Just my passion. I just like it. It's real fun to me.
Just going fast and
Yeah.
winning races, and you get to travel everywhere.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's the favorite part of the country that you've been to?
Probably, I think it was Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Steel City. Got
It was
the
my
river that
first
goes
ever.
through
It
there.
was probably my first ever time there that I remember it.
Got to go get you a sandwich at Permante's.
Yeah, we didn't make it down there, man. I was disappointed.
I went to Heinz 86.
Yeah, we went to the
place.
Table 86 with Heinz's place. We made it to there.
Yeah.
Nice.
The karting facility was only 20, 30 minutes from Cranberry, so it was nice.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's cool. So then, what do you dislike about racing?
Definitely when I get wrecked, hiking.
I could see that. I could see where that would be really frustrating. You didn't like it.
Yeah.
So, we'll go back to the school thing. Like, what are have your friends taken an interest in your career? Do they follow you on your social media pages? They ask you how your racing weekend was?
Yeah, sometimes, and then me and my friend just follow. I have my friend Ty. We just both follow each other on Instagram. Same with my friend Jace. We just go back and forth at it.
Got to ask this question. Does being a racer help you with the ladies?
I don't know.
It will. Just stick with it.
No girlfriend, Gav, huh?
No.
No, don't want to talk about that. I think he does.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Yeah.
do you have any close friends when you're racing, or are they just all competition to you? Does someone have an Xbox in the hauler or anything like that in between races?
Friend Preston Latimus does.
Yeah. So you go over there and play
Yeah.
Fortnite in there and stuff.
That's the crazy, the wonderful thing, actually, crazy wonderful thing about watching these kids races. You watch them, they're passionate, they all want to win. It's the, everybody's on their own team and for all intents and purposes, and they'll be upset, or one of them wrecks another, or somebody wrecks somebody else, and they're all upset and mad, and you go, where's so and so at, and where's Gavin and so, and they're like, they're in there playing their Xbox or running around, and 2 minutes later they've forgotten about it. Now the parents not so much sometimes,
Right?
But the kids, it's that's probably the neatest thing. What I've observed with racing is watching the short memories, which is a good thing.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I was looking at your stuff earlier, and I think I remember watching you win a race over at Millbridge, and I've got one thing, man. What happened to the sweet haircut?
Yeah.
You had the long flowing
long
locks.
hair.
And I think we need someone in the sport that's willing to rock the long hair, man.
we do.
We need
That's
you.
right.
I just, when I got older, like when I got like in the second grade or something, it was either first or second. I think it was second. I just didn't like it anymore, so I just got it cut.
You'll come around.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the dude that he's got going
Yeah.
on here.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking it.
I think
just,
cutting
you know,
the hair broke Derek Pernissiglio's heart, man. That's for sure.
Why?
He was. What's that guy? He always called him James Hunt or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
James Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
James
James
It
Hunt.
broke his heart, man.
Yeah.
It's
You
like,
got him.
He always compared him to him.
Where did the hair go?
Hey, you
Yeah, I. What's that guy from? Remember the Titans?
Oh, Sunshine.
Sunshine. Yeah,
that was definitely
yeah.
the sunshine haircut.
for sure.
So what's your favorite race day snack? You got like something that you eat before every race, or
Nope, just sometimes I just don't really eat at the track, but sometimes I just tell my mom to go get some food from Chick-fil-A or Subway or whatever,
Yeah.
and she brings it there.
do you have like a pre-race?
That's a good Ritual,
yes,
superstitions, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, there's What's the
Let's get into
superstition,
this.
buddy?
What can't you have?
What can't you have on that car?
Oh, green.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
green.
That's an
green.
old one.
Yeah.
And you know where that comes from, actually?
No.
I think it was Banjo Matthews had $50. He got paid for doing something, and it was like he had two $50 bills in his pocket, and he always said something about not liking green.
Mm-hmm.
But he stuffed the $50 bills into his driver's suit, and that's when he got killed.
Oh
Wow.
and
gosh.
and everybody's like, it's the green.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
we put green on his
Well-
dirt cart Millbridge one time, and it was a disaster. And I'm 4 races later, it was off.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard
It was
green,
gone.
Peanuts.
Peanuts.
the $50
Yeah.
bill one. The peanuts.
Peanuts. I didn't know about peanuts until Nick Hoffman told us about that.
Yeah.
I was eating peanuts. He goes, "Oh my God, get out of my pit area with those." I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I could just see that you got the shells everywhere. I could see that more of like
Yeah.
just like a cleanliness thing.
Yeah.
Like we're not rolling around
Yeah.
in peanut shells
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah.
Rather than a actual superstition.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I heard somewhere that Earnhardt chewed somebody out for it was just a fan,
Mm-hmm.
and they just had peanuts, and they were kind of looking in his garage area, and he's like, "Get away from me!"
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I
Yeah,
don't know. Kyle Busch has had pretty good success with green on his car, so
Yeah.
he's debunked that for sure.
right.
Yeah, Terry Labonte won the
Yeah,
championship
for sure.
with
Yeah.
with the green interstate car.
That must have been that was Bobby, but Terry had the green rooster on his car.
Cornfloat,
Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
Kellogg's. Yep.
That's
So
right.
it's it's not universal, but hey, some things you just don't want to mess with, and that's
that's
how
for
I
sure.
feel.
yeah, and then you go the other way. All the good luck charms. Do you have one of those? Do you have a
Put
good
the
luck charm?
right shoe on first, kind of thing.
No, not really.
Yeah.
No?
Never really had one of those.
Don't wash your fire suit. Nothing like that.
I watch it when it gets dirty, but it's not for walk.
Yeah, well, you never know, man. You might go on a win streak, and you're like, "We're not taking that thing to the dry
That's
cleaner
right.
anytime soon."
That's cool.
Totally understand the.
He'll get there.
superstition.
That's
Yeah.
for sure. It'll happen some point in time.
Yeah. So, have you ever taken any of your like schoolmates that know nothing about racing to the track along with you?
Yes.
That's what's it like introducing somebody to racing who has no clue what's going on?
It was very hard to explain it for him because he was just clueless what it was or anything like that. So I just had to explain the whole thing to him.
Right.
It was
But
real crazy.
did you think that you sort of got him interested in it, or?
I don't think so. He really liked football or baseball. Either one
Gotcha.
of those.
Right. Well, hey, man, you got to keep building those relationships. You never know what one of your schoolmates is really good at math and become your new crew chief in the future.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite race to watch?
The F1 race.
Just the one at Monaco.
Yeah,
So you watched the one this past weekend. Mm-hmm. And what did you think about it?
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, Sebastian went out
Monaco's a
there.
cool
went out
track.
there and won what? He all the practices
Mm-hmm.
and qualifying on the pole, and then won the race. Never led every lap or something like that. Just dominated the whole weekend.
Yeah.
That's
Didn't Max?
No, it was
Max-
Daniel Ricciardo.
yeah. Sorry,
Yeah, Ricardo.
Ricardo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's Ricardo. He's an interesting bird.
Yeah, have you guys met him?
No. The only real open wheel we actually with the USAC stuff does a lot of really cool stuff for these kids. So, the parking lot racing was really was very contentious for the entire racing world. From a USAC, from going from racing on tracks to going into parking lots. But what they did is what I think Kevin Miller did a terrific job of is partnering it with, like, we'll go to Pocono with IndyCar, and in February we were racing in Daytona with the Cup Series. So and then we'll they do it in Phoenix with IndyCar. So really the only open wheel drivers outside of the dirt stuff that we've got to meet was we met some of those guys, Marco Andretti, Will Power. Actually, got to know Will, and then who else?
Carpenter.
Yeah, Ed Carpenter. He's a former quarter midget. Yeah, he's a quarter midget guy. So it's so really outside of that, we really haven't ventured, unfortunately, with as much as we race, which is almost every weekend, and during the week we don't have much time to venture out, to some other places. Although I want to try to hit the F1 race in Texas just for the experience.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
What do you think of the parking lot racing? Do you like that?
I don't really like parking lot. I like the ovals, but I just don't like. I'm not a big fan of the parking lot. Just I think it's crazy.
because it's just like, are they setting up cones or
Yeah, it's just like
different barriers,
like a little like
kind of like
Yeah.
autocross?
Yeah.
So it's basically you set these little metal bumps that they put in the corners as they call them turtles.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is that you're at a track to where it doesn't take rubber. But to me, it's it is an ultimate equalizer for sure.
Right.
But what it's doing for the kids from a car control and a handling perspective, you could argue how it helps and hurts. No
Right.
doubt.
How many laps are they running? How many laps are you running?
40.
40 laps? And then the track in a parking lot would be how long?
Yeah, it's probably. Man, that's a good question. You could fit north the NCQMA track, which is Bobby Labonte's quarter midget track in Salisbury. You could fit it inside of Millbridge, so that gives you any kind of.
right.
It's small, it's tight. We are very, very fortunate. To give NCQMA a plug here, Bobby's track at NCQMA is by far the best facility you'll find in the country. I mean, the parking, the surface, the facility in general is second to none. But it's a really tough track. It's a very it's a very line sensitive track. It's fickle with the temperature. It's fickle with weather. So it's definitely challenging for sure. But by far the best facility. Being in racing. Race City, USA. That's one of the perks is we have look at GoPro.
Oh wow!
Man, what Justin's done with GoPro is phenomenal.
Yeah, and
So and that entire staff there. But if you even Millbridge, when I met Jeremy and Ashley with Millbridge, it was, you may remember this is that some of the walls were just wooden and they were 3 foot off there, and we still laugh to the day when Swindell flipped out of the park at the speed 51, and the fences were really only like 6 foot high. And now you go back to, it's like, wow. I mean, we have some really, really nice facilities.
yeah, Millbridge, Jeremy and Ashley have done just an amazing job.
Oh yeah.
Taking that to what it is today. And then it also just impresses the heck out of me whenever I see like a full-blown USAC midget going around the tiny little track.
So we were supposed to go over there, and it was the winter time, and his buddy Charlie, his grandpap Bobby East was down here testing to get ready for the Chili Bowl, and him and Charlie are really good friends, and they were supposed to go over and watch that, and I was actually going to go over, but it was so darn cold, and then Charlie ended up and him just stayed at the house and played Xbox. So
Yeah, I definitely want to see that in person.
yeah, it's pretty wild. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy, man.
I can't imagine how on the wheel you have to be to navigate that.
we tested with Brad Nossinger out there, and he thinks that you could actually run if the fences were higher. He said he thinks it, and Tony Stewart said the same thing. He said it'd be a great show for those
I'm
midgets.
sure.
Yeah, Tony swore by it. Yeah, that's
I
what
would-
Brad told me anyhow.
I would love
well-
to see it happen.
Well, if
Yeah.
you're getting that, I mean, that's, and it's also that racetrack is also feeding off of just the area that it's in.
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
it is paying
Yeah.
huge dividends for them being in this area, and then everyone's going to just pour money into that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like the big baseball field for everybody.
Yeah.
That
well,
everyone's
when
going
you
to.
have Earnhart Jr. shows up to watch Carson, in big races, it definitely, and then you have all these big names constantly going there, and Larson, racing out there is a big deal. So, and Jeremy and Ashley have done a tremendous job with that place.
Oh, yeah.
And they've put everything back into that and turned it into what it's in today. And the Speed 51, I don't know how many thousands of people there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Is there racing dads and racing moms, kind of like the soccer moms when the races are going on? Can you can you hear your mom cheering you on as you're going around the racetrack?
Yeah, man. That's the hardest thing that I've had to understand. Really, is Kevin Miller said it best, and him and I were talking, and is that racing is the only sport to where the parent is so involved with the kid.
Yeah.
And I've really had to understand just the passion, that comes along with it. Listen, I'm as competitive as the next guy, but I'm all about, embracing the sincerity and the purity of the competition at this age. We're racing for trophies and pride to some extent. And when it starts paying a couple $100,000 to win, or money like that, then we may take a different stance.
Yeah. Then you can start getting emotional.
Yeah, exactly. But that's really what I've had to put my mind around, is just that concept of how passionate some of the parents are.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a way of life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, some of them it really truly is. And for me, I want the best for him, and Tristan, just like any parent wants for their kids, and I want to see them be the best, and I want to see them succeed. But at the end of the day, that's not the ultimate goal. So, we want to be competitive, and you want to be able to tell stories and have a great resume to hang your hat on. But the fact of the matter is to propel into this sport, as you guys know, it's more about wins. It's marketability, it's humility, it's relationships, it's the whole nine.
Yeah. So. And you seem super confident, but at the same time, you seem humble. And you're ready to do it. Like, you are dead set on, like when you said earlier, you said, when I get to Formula One, like that's huge. Like, you didn't say like one day, maybe if this happens, like you're like, when I get to Formula One,
that's confidence for sure. And then on top of that, as I was looking at some of your stuff earlier, you're just like a media darling. Like, the camera loves you, man. So did you have any sort of coaching on that, or do you just have a really good personality that sort of lends itself to that?
I don't really know. Like, I just act like I'm doing my thing just normally, but
yeah.
I could speak from the people that we've had on here. You've handled this better than some of my guests. Like, they're so afraid of the microphone that they don't talk. But you're just like, yeah, I'm doing this and they're doing that.
Yeah, we were talking about, how you kind of got to play tricks on people sometimes. Kind of start the recording without saying we started the recording, and then be like, oh, by the way, we're on the air. We did it differently this time, but
but you jumped in that
right
seat, got the mic, let's go. We got this.
When he was 5, we did Chris Clark did a thing on him, and it was the coolest little thing to watch him. Actually, no, it's 6. And the best part of that interview is they talk about how much he's won and all these championships and racing. And Chris says at the very end, so Gavin, what do you want to do when you get older? He goes, well, I want to play football. And Chris Clark looked at me and I looked at him, and we just started laughing, man. It was awesome. He's 6 years old, and just the purity of the answer was priceless, no doubt.
That is great.
I remember being on that TV show, and I was like, probably like 7 years old, and the guy said, "Oh, Gavin, what do you want to do when you grow up?" He was like, "Well, I want to be a hockey player." And he's like, "Well, you just talked about being a NASCAR driver, so you want to be a hockey player now?"
Yeah, it was awesome.
But hey, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, man, I'm still working on my career.
That's right.
As a space cowboy,
That's right.
rock star. I'm trying to get them all put together. So who's to say that you can't do all of them? Yeah,
that's exactly it.
But that's awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
But 100% to get all of this experience that you can out of it. It's a cool thing to do. It's a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And it can really change your life, and that's an awesome thing to be doing. And for you to be so young and having a good start at it and be successful early, like that's That's like stepping in the ring with someone that's been boxing since they were 3 years old. You know, like you're already that much ahead of everybody else, and it's really cool to see how like I know when I was 9 and I wouldn't even have been able to even get in the car. Like I wouldn't have been able to start it or anything like that. You know, and
I was still eating the dirt, not driving it.
Yeah. You know what was remarkable to me is not saying it because he's my son, but you know when he started the karting stuff, you know I'm driving home, and you know you watch him try this thing, and it was completely foreign to him. Like the lefts were really really good, but the rights were awful. You know, so as we're driving back, and you know I look over. And I'm like, son, what are you watching? And he has his iPad up and he's on YouTube and literally was pulling up videos of what? What were you watching videos of? Do you remember?
No.
Of GoPro. So he pulled up the karting stuff to understand how they're driving those karts and it was watching it constantly. And you know, for me, that was a pretty pivotal moment because, you know, at that age, you know, I'm sitting there going, man, you know, God, at football, I was like, all right, man, they hand the ball off to me and I can run fast and I can avoid people and, you know, it's cool. But, you know, you don't understand the depth of their mind to go to that level, to know YouTube. You know, obviously technology today is different.
Yeah.
To pull up YouTube and start watching these things to help sharpen and make his craft better. And, you know, I mean, you know, he has a chance this year to reach 200 wins, which is a big deal. You know, and I think the biggest thing, and you hit the nail on the head, is for us, it's you know, we want to teach him the right way and humility and appreciate the success and embrace the moment. Because, you know, the reality of it is he may not want to do it anymore, but he'll have some really cool memories to look back on, like this. You know, this is really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and this will always be there.
Yep.
So you could find this one day and like, hey, listen, when I was on this podcast when I was 9 years old, and it'll be fun to see because I'm definitely a fan of you now. So I'll be watching Gavan race the whole way through just to see where he goes. And like, man, like look what this kid turned into.
Yeah, when our podcast is huge and you're dominating
that's right.
one, we'll
That's
do a
exactly
reunion
right.
episode.
That's right.
I can't wait.
Yes.
10 years from now, it'll come full circle. But
Yeah.
it has been.
Yes, in Monaco.
That's right. Exactly.
Welcome to the Monaco Grand Prix, the Young and Pruitt podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome.
What is your data acquisition looking like, Gavin?
You know, that's one thing that I had to get used to in the F1 world was the different languages. That's for sure.
It's so weird
I know.
listening to them just talking on the radio.
Safety car onto the track.
Oh, yeah, man.
Accent aside, but like terminology, just when they talk on the radio, it's way more. I don't want to say professional because that sounds bad.
Yeah.
But it's like when they talk, it's always like this.
Oh, yeah.
It never goes up anymore.
Yeah.
So when they're talking,
It's very monotone.
Yeah, and even the drivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when they're talking about changes to the car, they're like, "So how are you in that section?" Like it's only like
So we were
Kimmy's
flying.
the only one that'll get really emotional.
Yeah, for sure. So we were flying back from Daytona, and we were fortunate enough to Jeff sat next to us, and so Jeff's asking Gav, you know, what he wants to do, and Gordon, and Gav says, well, I want to ride. I'm going to drive an F1 one day, and Jeff goes, huh? You go in circles all this time, Gavin. You want to drive F1? And he thinks it's super cool. He's like, oh, yes, first American in F1, yada, yada, yada. So, but it's been really neat. You know, it's been neat to watch him progress, as I said earlier, and to see him win actually in everything he's drove now. As he just won in the karting world, a big national race, which was a big deal. So, you know, it's, you know, not just because he's my kid, but in any kid that can do that, to me, is impressive. You know, and you know, where it takes you from there is ultimately up to him.
What's your website? Where can people find out where you're going to be racing next?
Well, they can't really find out, but I'll have an Instagram post.
Now, they'll see it on watchgavinrace.com.
So we go live?
Yeah, it's live now.
we were looking at it earlier.
Yeah,
So,
it's live
it's
now,
definitely
buddy.
live.
It's live.
So it's
Watch Gavin Race, GAVAN
Yes.
race.com.
Watch Gavan Race. And then what's your Twitter and Instagram?
What is it?
Instagram is Gavin Race. His Instagram is Gavin Race, and Twitter is Watch Gavin Race. And then Facebook is Watch Gavin Race too. But you go to the website, you can see everything for sure.
I'm only on Instagram. I don't really.
Yeah, he's an Instagram kid. That's that generation.
I'm the same way. Like
That
Instagram.
and Snapchat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instagram's the way to go. It's just pictures and then like just a little bit to talk about. It's nothing specific.
No.
It's easy. It's like It's like a magazine.
It's
on your
easy
phone.
to digest.
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah,
Yep.
you can hit like and keep moving. But all right, thank you for coming on. Big shout out to Zach Skolnick over at Racing Development and Management for telling you guys and bringing
That's
you guys
one thing
over.
we didn't talk about is Zach has known Gavin since the same early years, since the driven days. Actually, Gavin had the first 18-inch wheel, I think it was, something like that Driven ever did in his dirt car, and then the quarter midget world, and it just, a lot of monkey see, monkey do, and took off. And so, yeah, Zach's been a big help and proponent for him for a very long time.
And he's been there before too.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
So just to clarify for everyone who doesn't know that situation, Zach Skolnick has started the Racer Development
Management
and Management company recently. He was the owner, CEO of Driven Steering Wheels for a while, and then he sold over to Momo, and now he's doing this whole development program, bringing guys like Gavin into the fold. I've known Zach since I went to Belmont Abbey with him.
Yeah.
So good dude to be working with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the knowledge base, relationships, and just the listen, you don't take a company from nothing and sell it to a one of the largest companies in the world. Weld, Momo, the whole 9 yards, without knowing what you're doing and how you're doing it. So
Yeah, for sure.
I don't care who you are.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
And that's what this whole show's about. It's building the relationships, hearing people's stories. So someone could probably listen to this and get really interested in Gavin and watching Gavin race, or I want Gavin to race for me. So I appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having us, guys. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank
Chris, by the way, I never
Yeah.
even
Yeah, that's
I never
all right.
even said your name.
No worries,
So,
man.
Gavin's father. So and then
And then I'm Chase Forbes. I never
Chase-
introduced myself.
and then
This
Chase-
is not Pruitt today. This is Chase.
Yeah. Everybody's going to be listening to this like, where the hell's David? But
Yeah.
David had a all expense paid trip to Sparta, Kentucky at the last minute.
Darn.
So I had to send out the bat signal, and I got Chase to come on. If the name and the voice sounds familiar, is because he was on the Greg Fernelli podcast, the owner of Stock Car Steel and SRI. But I think we're going to move in Chase, and I think Chase is going to become a bigger part of the YPP podcast here moving forward.
Love doing it. Get to meet great people.
Yeah, we got some big ideas, and we're going to keep moving this thing forward. And
Light bulbs everywhere.
yeah, we're ready
Yeah.
for the future. But again, thank
you guys.
Thank you.
you for coming
thank you.
on.
Yeah.
You can find us at Young and Pruitt on Twitter and Instagram, youngandpruitt.com. And Chase?
Don't bother following my social media, but you can check out at Stock Car Steel, at SRI Supplies, and at SRI Performance and buy some stuff from our company.
Perfect. And also, David, because he's not here, he can't tag himself, so I'm going to tag him at Tall Guy Turbo on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again, guys. Have
See
a great
ya.
night.
Have a good one.